YouTube, what is up? Alright, so boom, next video we're gonna be doing OSPF to BGP redistribution. Right now, as you can see on the screen, we have a BGP section, an OSPF section, and thrown in the corner is gonna be EIGRP. So we're gonna talk about that here in a second. I'm gonna give you guys an example question here in a couple of seconds about why this lab came about, and a really good video. I gotta give credit where credit is due. This guy right here, your IT explained, when I was going for my CCNP ENARSI, I was searching for a video like this, and it got 6,000 views, and it makes sense because this guy really puts it in detail. So this lab that we're gonna be doing is basically this lab, but my take on it and what I learned from it, plus some added notes on top of it. But again, this video, if you still don't grasp it from what I'm showing you, hopefully you will understand it, because I feel like I'm more relatable, like person to person. A lot of people are real technical. I feel like I'm technical, but I can still relate it, good. But in case you don't understand it after this, definitely go check out this video, troubleshooting redistribution, right? So this was a very helpful video, but this lab is loading up. So while it's loading up and everything, let's go ahead and talk about the questions. So I have this sample question here that will basically describe, it'll show you a router config. All right, it's gonna show you the IP routing table with some connected routes, some OSPF external routes, and some intra-area routes, right? And then it's gonna ask, the OSPF routing protocol is redistributed into the BGP routing protocol, but not all the OSPF routes are distributed into BGP. So with that, and then it asks which action will resolve this issue. So we're going to talk about that in the lab. So in this example, when it's saying that all the OSPF routes are being redistributed in a BGP, what that can mean is your OSPF external, your regular OSPF routes, your OSPF intra-area routes. That's what it means by not all the OSPF routes, right? So sometimes when you're distributing OSPF, for example, the EIGRP, like you see in the corner there, EIGRP can go into OSPF, and then it'll be an OSPF external route. And there's something special you got to do sometimes to redistribute external routes into BGP, right? So enough of that. Let's go ahead and get into it. So like you guys know on my channel, I like to go step by step on config. It is a couple of routers here this time around. So instead of typing it all up, I'm gonna copy and paste the config from my document, and we're gonna discuss the configs, or you guys can screenshot as I go through. So boom, first thing, we're in router 1. The first set of commands we're gonna do is really just to give it its IP and set up BGP, right? So boom, again, hostname R1, router BGP, and we're gonna put the neighbor. Make sure to take a screenshot of this in case you need to grasp it in your mind or save it for your notes later. But we're moving on to router 2. So boom, let's go router 2. This one is gonna be similar, same thing, just setting up the IP and the BGP configuration. Boom, make sure to take again a screenshot of that if you need to. This is the starting config for router 2. We're gonna go to router 5. I know it's not router 3, but I'm just going from left to right from the lab topology. So router 5, nothing real special about this. Just only thing that's different is obviously it needs a config for BGP and OSPF, since it's gonna be the one redistributing between the two domains. So boom, copy that, paste that. I'll give you guys a second to take a screenshot of that if you need it. All right. Boom. Gonna be R3. R3 again, this is just gonna be setting up the IP address and setting up OSPF. Boom, take a screenshot of that. That's for R3. Now we're gonna get to R4. Almost done. R4. Boom. Take a screenshot of that, guys, if you need it. Last router here, R0. R0, or actually, I'll leave off R0. Let's talk about this first. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do show IP routes on each router, and we're gonna notice how the different routing domains don't see each other because redistribution is not configured yet, right? So just to go step by step, so boom, let's see. So let's see from R3 basically. Show IP routes. So boom, you see it just has the connected routes. Let's do R4. Show IP route. Boom, it just has the connected routes. And then, show IP route on R1. It has the BGP route going to R5, I think that is. Let's see. R5. Show IP in brief. Yep, R5. So now that we did the show IP routes, now and we got that in our mind, now we're gonna keep moving through the lab, right? So we want to start redistributing so we can start seeing more routes, right? So to start, we're gonna go into R5 because that's the router that's gonna be doing the redistribution, because again, it's right in the middle of the BGP and OSPF domain, so it's gonna be doing all that. So first thing you're gonna want to do is we're gonna redistribute BGP into OSPF. So again, whatever you want to redistribute into, you have to start from there. So I want to redistribute BGP into OSPF. I'm going to start in OSPF. So let's go ahead and do COMT. So router OSPF 1 and simply redistribute BGP 250, right? Now, in theory, and hopefully if I go into R3, right, and I do a show IP route, I should see more routes than I saw earlier. And boom, exactly. Now I'm seeing OSPF external routes, which is these routes from BGP, right? I'm seeing all these routes. Earlier I just saw these right here. But because we're doing redistribution, now obviously we see more routes. Okay? So now let's redistribute the other way, OSPF into BGP. You see how these routes are coming from the BGP section? Now if I hop into R2 later on or R1, I should see routes from the OSPF. So let's go ahead and go back to R5, and we're gonna do router BGP 250 and redistribute OSPF 1. Again, whatever you want to redistribute into, go into that. So I want to redistribute OSPF into BGP, so I started in the router BGP 250. So redistribute OSPF 1, and now let's go out of that. Now if we click on router 1, I should see BGP routes from the OSPF side. So look, these are my routes from earlier, right? So boom, show IP route. I see way more routes, right? Earlier I didn't see this 172 network, right? But now I do because of the redistribution. Now we're gonna circle back to this router 0 that's gonna be running EIGRP. So you guys can see an issue with the question, and the main issue that occurs basically when redistributing with EIGRP, OSPF, and BGP, right? So boom, in router 0, let's go ahead and connect to that. Let's get out of all this here. So boom, we're gonna do this basic config, paste, and I'll let you guys take a screenshot of that so you can save it for your notes. Alright, now I need to also add this to R4 so it can talk with the EIGRP router. So on the interface gig 2 and EIGRP is the main thing we're gonna add. So guys, take a screenshot of that. This is another added config to R4, right? All it is the interface gig 2. We assign the IP address and we configure EIGRP on it, right? So boom, exit. Now we have to set up redistribution EIGRP into OSPF, right? So let's go back. Boom. T. I'll do this one actually step by step. It's not too many commands. It's real simple. So COMT router EIGRP 100. We're gonna redistribute OSPF 1. I don't know about you guys. Redistributing starting from EIGRP is always annoying because it has the metric and all that. But once you do enough of them, you'll get the hang of it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. 1, 255, 1, 1500 NTU size. Exit router OSPF 1. Redistribute EIGRP 100. Alright, so now we have redistribution set up both ways. EIGRP going into OSPF and OSPF going into EIGRP, right? So boom. We're gonna scroll down and now we're gonna go on to the router 0, alright? Boom. Let's end here so we can go back. So now from router 0, we're gonna notice how you can see external EIGRP routes, which are coming from OSPF and BGP, making them external, right? So boom, we're gonna show IP route. So boom, you see all these external routes. You see there's a route for 10.200.250, which was the IP on R5, right? So we see that, and we see other networks coming from the BGP, and we see that on EIGRP external routes, right? Here's the kicker though. Here's the kicker. Check me out. Here's the kicker. If we try to ping 10.100.200.1, it's gonna fail, right? It's gonna fail. How is it gonna fail if I got the route right there? Well, let's talk about it. So, boom, ping 10.100.200.1. Boom. So this should fail. You see, we're not getting the pings back. So this is gonna fail. So even though it's in the routing table, it's failing. So let's talk about that. So let's look at R1's routing table. Show IP route. Boom. It does not have any routes to get back to R0. R0, again, look at what IPs it got set up on it, right? That 10.20. Nowhere in the routing table does it have that on R1. So even though the R0, the EIGRP router, has a route here, the pings are never going to be successful because they can't travel back to R0, right? So it doesn't have a route to that 10.20. So again, basically traffic doesn't know how to return. So why did EIGRP learn about BGP routes, but BGP did not learn about the EIGRP routes? So that's kind of the original question that was asked from the beginning. So if we look at R5, right? Let's go ahead and do show run. Alright, so we're gonna see OSPF and we're gonna see BGP, right? So the reason why EIGRP routes are not being learned in BGP is because when redistributing from OSPF to BGP, the default behavior is to only redistribute internal routes, which EIGRP will show up as external since it's being redistributed into OSPF. So let's say that again, make sure you guys understand. So the reason EIGRP routes are not being learned in BGP is because when redistributing from OSPF to BGP, the default behavior is to only redistribute internal routes. So let's look at R5. Boom. Do show IP route. So check this out. 10.20.30, which is the route coming from the EIGRP router. What's it getting? It's getting OSPF external, right? So what did I say the default behavior was? Is to only redistribute internal routes. So you got these internal routes. You see 172.16, that's an internal route. That's being shown here. Why? Because it's an internal route. But this 10.20 is an external. So the default behavior is not allowing that, right? So what do we do about it? We have to do just a simple command. It's a quick fix. So we would go into router BGP 250, redistribute OSPF 1 match internal, external 1, external 2, and then we end, right? Now when we go to router 1, we should see that new route. Boom. That new route, remember 10.20.30? That wasn't there before. Why is it there now? Because we did a match internal, external, which is going to grab those external routes and basically bypass that default behavior. So it's a lot of, what's the word? I can't even think, intricacies, whatever. Dude, I don't even know the word I'm trying to think of, but it's a lot of stuff you gotta know when you're a network engineer. Oh, just caught a cramp. Alright, so back to what I was saying. God, that was horrible. So again, we are now seeing the route because we did that one command. Let's go back to the command so you guys can see for your notes. So make sure to screenshot that and take notes, and you could look this up further in Cisco documentation. But again, this match internal external is gonna help bypass that default behavior. So why were the routes not being learned? Because we were not doing the internal external. So if you ever get a question like that, make sure you remember back to this lab that you did to remember the default behavior. Because I think I got maybe four is too much, but I got 3 to 4 questions on my CCNP ENARSI regarding this kind of topic. So 3 to 4 might not seem like a lot, but it's a real simple topic to learn. I wouldn't say simple, but if you get this, that's 3 to 4 points worth of questions you're adding on to be able to pass the exam. So you gotta be able to pass as many questions as you can to earn all those points, because when you're taking these CCNP tests, I can't imagine CCIE. There's a whole videos of how to fail a question to pass another question, but I'm not gonna get into that. But yeah, you want to make sure you get as many points as possible. So learning this in detail and taking notes is really gonna help you. If you guys enjoyed this video, please smash the like button, and please check out the CCNP ENARSI Labs playlist where we cover different topics like DMVPN, route redistribution, policy-based routing, all that. So check you guys on the next one.